Back in 2019, FTX was just a startup and within a few years was valued at over $30 billion, dominating the crypto space as one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. Meanwhile, fast forward to 2023, the face of the company, Sam Bankman-Fried, facing criminal charges that could sentence him to a lifetime in jail, and his company is bankrupt. On Wednesday, the jury selection was completed, opening arguments were given, and the prosecution started by laying the groundwork and taking 2 witness testimonies. Now, this is very interesting because a lot of the discussions really come down to intent and how Sam Bankman-Fried is being painted. When you look at the prosecution, Nathan Wren is saying, really framing this as being a very calculating person, saying that he was using allegedly these investor deposits for his own personal use, as well as speculative trading via Alameda Research, the FTX affiliated hedge fund. Basically saying he lied to the world, committing a massive fraud, taking billions of dollars from thousands of victims. Meanwhile, defense attorney Mark Cohn really framing SBF as being, essentially a tech nerd who sort of got in over his head, saying, Sam works very hard, didn't drink or party, didn't try to defraud anyone, saying there was no theft, and really chalking a lot of the losses that came from FTX as really par for the course of what was happening with crypto itself at the time, sort of the sell-off that we'd seen as well as the crypto winter, and really trying to paint this as not being an intentional defrauding of investors here, Akiko.
Yeah, we're now on day 3 of this trial, expected to last about 6 weeks. So still in the very early phases. But to your point, what we have heard from prosecution as well as the defense, some very familiar arguments that we heard in the lead up to this case. You talked about how the prosecution came out. They specifically called the FTX a house of cards, a massive fraud. And that really is the sort of the thread in the prosecution's case. An interesting article out from the Wall Street Journal this morning that seems to point to what the prosecution sees specifically as, what some would argue, a smoking gun, a backdoor that was created between FTX and what you just mentioned, Alameda Research, that allowed FTX to tap into the funds there. And that's really at the heart of this argument from the prosecution, saying specifically that Sam Bankman-Fried used customer funds for his own personal benefit. It's going to be an interesting trial here as we continue to follow it. Certainly going to be a lot of talk about his former CEO of Alameda Research, also his former girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, seen as a key witness here for the prosecution. A number of stories already coming out because of the Michael Lewis book as well. But there's going to be some really familiar faces because it was a pretty tight-knit circle there at the very top at FTX.